what we're querying here is, in the long run, like everything, whether it's good to be applying moisturizer every single day or very frequently on your skin. What I was going to do now was just go into a couple of reasons of why it actually could be bad for your skin long term. Number one, I would say, overwhelming number one, is that
Sam and Kit Warren-Russell, who really took skincare into their own hands.
Twin brothers from the UK who are taking the skincare industry by storm.
Sam is a nuclear astrophysicist, and Kit is a geophysicist and author.
A Notre Dame grad and his twin brother are looking to revolutionize skin health.
The two launched a 2-year intensive research study.
Two very smart guys who knew all about bad skin at a very early age.
That woman at the end was our mum, and really she's the face which launched 1,000 questions for us.
I had an idea this morning, Sam, and I thought we could do one of the biggest things which people always ask about, and they ask about how to get better skin. It's really that simple, but we always see a huge amount of problems which people, mistakes people make when treating the skin. So I thought we could go through a series of just talking about the biggest mistakes we see on a daily basis.
Well, I mean, yeah, we see huge amounts of mistakes, and then we teach people how to do the right thing. Let's put it that way.
Exactly, yeah. So that's what we do, and that's why we set up all of this. So, Sam, I'm going to hand this over to you, actually, because I think you're good at this. So my first question would be, in your eyes, what's one massive problem or mistake people make when trying to treat the skin, which you've come into contact with recently?
Well, off the top of my head, because there's loads, obviously, but one of the biggest things is people talking about moisturizer, especially for dry skin and different types of things like eczema and whatever. Everyone's always talking about moisturizer. So there's a lot to talk about moisturizer. So you'd start, most people, why do most people use moisturizer?
Oh, I see. Are you asking me? Is that a question to me?
Well, I'm floating it out in the universe so that someone can answer it.
Well, that's a good point. Well, I'll give you the PR response for the cosmetics industry first. So the idea about moisturizer is that if you have dry skin, then you're adding moisture back to your skin so it retains some of its nice elasticity and it doesn't feel too dry and tight. Which, without thinking about it too much, seems like quite a good idea if you have dry skin.
Yeah.
But then if you give it more than about 2 seconds of thought, you actually realise, well, artificially adding things which is normally there and normally natural on the skin may not be quite as good an idea as it first sounded.
Well, you've just done the whole episode there, Kit.
Sorry.
Well, no, yeah. So if it's to do exactly what you said, then, well, let's look. Why would we be saying that moisturizer is bad? That's what I want to go through, because most people will say on our Skin Microbiome Fitness Packages who have skin problems and ranging from pretty to severe to just, well, we call them normal, but they shouldn't be around. As we talk in other podcasts, these skin problems, they should never be, they were never seen in our ancestors, and the people that we study say remote tribesmen, they're never seen on them. So when I say normal, I mean normal for now, but there's a skin allergy epidemic, so these problems shouldn't be there. Anyway.
Cool. No, I like that. So slow down. Hold on a second. So we're going right back in time, or we're going right back to the actual problem which this is trying to cause, aren't we? So you're saying, in simple terms, you're saying basically there's an epidemic of skin problems, maybe even skin dryness nowadays, which shouldn't actually be there, and our ancestors didn't experience.
Yeah,
is that right?
Dryness of skin everyone talks about, and then also a lot of these skin problems cause or have part of the symptoms that are dryness. So when thinking about this problem, the problem cause solution, is the reason I mentioned that is, okay, so if our ancestors and these tribes people don't see these skin problems, say like eczema and severe dry skin and all of these things that come with symptoms of dry skin, the question firstly could be is, were they using moisturizer every day?
Yeah, I always ask people, well, do you think our caveman ancestors were like slathering on, getting out their little pots of moisturizer and then going in the morning? It's just something which you can't imagine any self-respecting caveman do, for many reasons, not just the fact that
Well,
they're self-respecting,
what
but
about
also maybe,
the non
I
self-respecting?
mean, sorry?
What about the non self-respecting cavemen? What about them?
Exactly, yeah. But you're right. The general big picture is that, okay, I think this goes into loads of other um, problems and loads of other episodes as well, Sam. So the general big picture is that there's this epidemic of skin problems going on in the Western world, which our ancestors didn't have. So that's the problem underlying it all. And obviously that includes dry skin. So that brings us, I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong, but that brings us on to why moisturizers may be needed. Is that right?
Well, yeah, but first I wanted to just
Okay.
ascertain, just because this is important, whether these tribes people that you do a lot of your studies on, are they using moisturizer every day?
No, they're not.
And do they see the massive rates, or do they see eczema and things like this, these problems that have symptoms of dry skin? Do they see that at all?
No.
No. So that's the start to this. So then now we need to look at where the use of moisturizer came from. So what do you think? Where does it come? Not what do you think, what do you know? Where did it come from?
So I understand your question correctly. When you say where did it come from, you mean where did the need or the demand come from?
Well, bit of both. So why did the use of moisturizers start in the first place?
Well, I mean, again, that's open for debate. But what I would say is sometimes it's chicken and egg. So for me, I think what the cosmetics industry did, and we'll go into the intentions or the supposed intentions later on, but I do feel that they introduced moisturizer as a supposed solution for many people having damaged and bad skin. And then in turn, well, we'll go into it later as well, but giving these products to people with unhealthy skin, especially when they contain huge amounts of synthetic chemicals, actually made the dryness worse instead of making it better.
Yeah, so I mean, well, I was just saying, so it started with sort of skin problems and then dryness. So people wanted to get rid of their dry skin. So I think the point here, again, depends how much time we have, but the more people put on moisturizers, does it get rid of their dry skin?
Well, again, there's not many studies out there showing this, but from all the research, actually, and also seeing experience firsthand, these moisturizers can actually make the dry skin a lot worse, can't they? For multiple reasons, which we can go into. So let me know if you want me to go into the reasons.
Well, yeah, let's go. And then, so if it sort of topped them up, do you think that these people, would they need to use it every single day?
Don't understand the question.
So the way I see it, people use moisturizers every single day to top up their dry skin. So if the dry skin was getting better, then they wouldn't need to use moisturizer. So
yeah, exactly. So that's a really good point there. So again, it becomes, well, I don't know if it becomes or it started out as a dependency, but becomes like one of these things where you need to keep doing something, and maybe it gets worse. Maybe you need to keep doing it more and more from what we've seen to get the same effects of feeling like your skin's moisturized.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we see on all of our packages, right?
Yeah, but let's give both sides, Sam, because, sorry, we've got to, sometimes for people with very, very bad and dry skin, putting a bit of moisturizer on it, especially when the skin is cracked and dry and is really tight, and every time you move, it opens and it bleeds and stuff like that. We've seen this with patients who have things like topical steroid withdrawal and really serious eczema, don't we? So sometimes in the short term, it can give them some kind of really nice relief. But what we're querying here is, in the long run, like everything, whether it's good to be applying moisturizer every single day or very frequently on your skin. So what I was going to do now was just go into the couple of reasons, or the few reasons why it actually could be bad for your skin long term.
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. So, well, you can back me up here or help me out, but number one, I would say, the overriding number one, or the overwhelming number one, is that, as we talked about in previous episodes, there's a huge amount of synthetic chemicals poured into these products. So moisturizers especially normally contain huge amounts of toxic synthetic chemicals, which have actually been linked to huge amounts of health problems, not just on the skin, so not just allergic reactions on the skin or causing things like contact dermatitis, but then also they've been linked to things within the body as well, like hormone disruption and other whole bodily health problems.
Right. And I think it's a good point, moisturizers especially, because they're a lot of the time oil-based rather than water-based. So they have even, and you keep them on the skin, so they soak into the skin rather than washing them off. So they have even more potential for that.
That's a good point, yeah. So things leave-on products like that. I think I remember in the EU, leave-on products, obviously they're seen as, for certain chemicals, you're not allowed to have as many of those chemicals in leave-on products because of the effect you're talking about. If you leave it on your skin.
Yeah, that's where MI and MCI have been banned. But yeah, we won't go into that. Cool. Okay, so what are the other reasons then?
So number one, the overwhelming number one, is the huge amount of synthetic chemicals which have been shown to really damage and deplete your skin microbiome and your whole body health as well. So we talked in previous episodes about how the skin isn't just like a barrier. Actually, it's one, an ecosystem, but then also you can get the chemicals that can be absorbed into the bloodstream really rapidly as well. And then I would say number two, actually, the fact of artificially adding moisture to your skin actually undoes the skin's natural processes at being able to regulate its own moisture. So then it becomes dependent on the artificial source as opposed to being able to regulate its own moisture, which, as we know from when the skin is healthy, it does that naturally.
Interesting. So that's the part that I'm most interested in, that one, Kit. So explain a bit more about that, the skin making its own moisture and regulating its own moisture.
Well, yeah, I'd say regulating its own moisture. Again, moisture in inverted commas because it's quite a broad term, but basically when the skin is healthy, through things like producing sebum and things like this, it has all of these processes to keep the ecosystem on the skin as healthy as possible. So dry skin is really just an indicator that your skin microbiome isn't very healthy.
Right. So when it is healthy, you're saying it regulates all of it?
Absolutely, that's what it's set up to do. The body's amazing. Body has this whole self-regulating system where you can have all the processes you need are all there in the body and the skin. Right. So all you need to do, the aim of all our research and all of what we're doing is getting the body and the skin to go back to doing its natural processes, which is done for hundreds of thousands of years, and then even further back, millions of years of mammalian evolution. Mammalian. I suddenly felt like one of those boring scientists.
I know we have the huge amount of science, but the exciting thing to me isn't just being another of the science podcasts talking about the skin microbiome.
I agree. They'll make it fun.
No, we could talk all the time about your many published papers and all my research in ecosystems and physics. But so the last thing I wanted to ask was, so you've got them, and then you also mentioned, obviously, if you're leaving on these products for hours or just leaving them on in general, what about the ingredients that you're leaving on?
Exactly. We already talked about that, but basically these ingredients can penetrate through the skin and get into your bloodstream and then be circulated around your body and damage the heart, the brain, and the lungs. And that was one of the key things which we talked about in our research, which was featured in the Washington Post, which is why we were actually jetted out to Washington, D.C. to talk in front of Congress people and policymakers in the US government. Yeah.
So, but obviously the circulating around your body is for another time. But in terms of the skin, we're talking about skin problems. What specifically, what do people not know that it's doing?
Yeah, they don't understand how it's linked to destroying your skin microbiome and causing a huge amount of skin problems as well. So the more you put on of these products, you actually, again, this is the fourth point I would say, you're actually undermining the body's natural processes through the ways we've talked about, and you're actually making it less likely to be healthy, to be moisturized in the future. So you're getting this downward cycle of destruction.
Yeah, and we've seen this all the time, haven't we? The fact of people using more and more moisturizer, and their skin actually gets drier, and then they go, oh well, I need more moisturizer now, and the skin actually keeps cycling like that, which is one of the worst processes too, because you've got to use even more moisturizer, and then it seems like using more of the thing that's actually causing it.
Exactly, yeah. The moisturizing myth, as we call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think to add a bit of balance to it, because I'm so balanced, obviously, as we said before, it can offer relief in some really serious cases. So that's why you should never just be 100% or zero. But what we're saying is in the long term, if you're using these things every day, it could actually cause a lot more harm than good to your skin.
Yeah, but it's interesting how many people now there's a massive explosion in skin problems and then skin dryness and everything with more of the use of moisturizer. So it doesn't quite add up, or not doesn't quite add up. It doesn't add up in the slightest.
Yeah. So the industry came up with this solution to the dry skin crisis, let's call it, and they introduced all of these moisturizers. But since they did all of that, and actually since the industry started, skin health has just deteriorated hugely. So there's something going on there.
Yeah, which we talk about in other. We haven't got time to go into it today. So, Kit, sum up this this myth about moisturizers
in 20 seconds.
20 seconds. I'd say 19 and a half.
All right, I'll give it a good go. Okay, so the moisturizing myth: moisturizers, which are there supposedly to help dry skin, could actually make the dry skin problem worse because of the huge amount of chemicals and undoing the natural processes of the skin.
Okay, brilliant. What do you think about that one?
Was that 20 seconds?
Yeah, that was good. Perfect.